Hello and welcome to another quick video on how to answer a Globe Theatre site question for the Elizabethan topic. So we're going to get straight into the question and look and see if we can produce a grade 9 response. So here is the question. The question says the main reason why theatres became successful was support of the nobles. So this one's a bit more of a cause question and explaining why things are developing. So again, we've got the rest of the wording says how far does Globe Theatre support this statement? So we've got to use our knowledge of the Globe Theatre and we've got to explain our answer. We've got to refer to Globe Theatre and our knowledge during the answer. So if you're looking at this question in my revision guide and you looked at this one first, do have a look at my other Globe Theatre question in the revision guide. That will give you more guidance on how to answer the question and the skills that are required. We're just going to get straight into the answer then. So let's start having a think about this. The question has set out that support of the nobles is the key theme. So what do you think are the other themes? Have a think now. You can pause me. Have a think. Look at your notes. What do you think are the other causes of theatres developing in Elizabethan times? So pause me now. Have a think. Okay, so here's my ideas then. So I've gone for a second argument of a desire to entertain and make money. So obviously money is always involved somewhere, isn't it? And then secondly, the City of London banned theatres from being inside their city walls. So therefore there had to be places which allowed the building of theatres, and those are called liberties. So we need to look at the development of liberties to see how they have helped the theatres grow. So now have a look through your revision guide and see if you can add a few notes into the planning table in your booklet and prepare a response. Okay, pause me now and note down a few ideas. Okay, here's my ideas then. So, support the nobles. Okay, firstly, we have to go back to the 1572 Act that said that a baron of the realm had to support a theatre company. So, a theatre company can't happen without a baron of the realm supporting it. Then you've got examples of theatre companies developing over time that you can talk about. So, Leicester was the person who originally led the theatre company of the theatre. Then, of course, people like Leicester and some of the other senior nobles that supported the theatre were helpful in ensuring that the theatre could operate against the background of Puritan opposition. Leicester was a very senior Puritan and could gain support. Then, of course, theatres could not really have been built without the support of the nobles. So the fact the nobles, particularly Lord Chamberlain, set up Lord Chamberlain's men meant there was a company that could actually build the globe. Pretty obvious idea, really. So a desire to set up a theatre to entertain and make money is also important. So obviously there was a high demand in the city. 20,000 people a week went to a play. There's lots of money involved, so it was a penny to go and stand in a pit, 4, 6, 8 pence, depending on how high you sat in the theatre. The Globe Theatre itself could fit around 3,000 people in, 1,000 standing, 2,000 paying more to sit. So there's a huge amount of money to be made. And the fact there were so many theatres supports this. The Curtain, the Rose, the Swan all support the fact that theatres were popular. The Globe also was built with a really great location. So on Southwark, just near the bridge, we're near lots of river ferries, very close to the City of London for people to travel out and go to the theatre. And they had a great reputation as well for good actors and, of course, good writers with Burbage and Shakespeare. So they could make lots of money. They also had a great reputation for a variety of plays. They weren't specialising in any type. Shakespeare could write tragedies, histories, comedies, all types. So would be very popular. And finally, development of liberties and just generally development of theatre building. So theatres were not allowed to be built within the City of London walls, and so they had to be built on these free lands called liberties. So the council opposed, obviously, theatres for lots of reasons: disease, spread of crime, spread of potential conspiracies to try and overthrow the monarch. Conspiracies could be organised in a big crowd away from spies who were watching conspirators, perhaps. And the other rather strange things, the Puritans felt just generally plays were lies. They much preferred a good, solid religious play performing the Bible. So the Globe had to move to Southwark because there was a nice property there. Before that, it had been the theatre, which had been more North London, and the Liberty contract had run out, and so Burbage and his crew moved their whole theatre piece by piece to the Liberty of Southwark, and they were able to build their theatre there to be successful. However, some liberties still had their playhouses closed down. So Blackfriars Playhouse was closed down because it was too noisy with the neighbours, and it didn't therefore have the support of the Privy Council and nobles to keep it open. So shows you the importance of the nobles, really, doesn't it? When we look at that sort of however there. Okay, so let's go now to see how we can structure answer. So it's not much difference to the other Globe Theatre question, but this time we're obviously thinking about reasons why rather than consequences. So the first sentence is slightly different. So first, the statement is mostly correct as the main reason for the success of theatres was the support of nobles. Okay, so we're looking at causation in our opening sentences. Then we're giving our example to back up the nobles. Then we're explaining how the nobles were a cause of success. Obviously, if we think it's very important, we're going to say furthermore. If we think actually the nobles wasn't so important, we're going to evaluate it and give a however. Okay, so let's give this a go, shall we? So here in front of you is my table, but obviously you've got your notes and your revision guide as well. And so filling in a revision guide with the answer. Go for it with your own answer. My answer is just a guide for you. Okay, but obviously if you are going alongside my answer, then try and write a similar standard. So finish this first sentence then. So firstly, the statement is mostly correct as the main reason for the success of the theatres was support of nobles. So I'm going for mostly correct. So you can go partly if you wish and take a different argument, or you can carry on with mine and finish the sentence. Give a reason why. You've got to hang your paragraph on this reason. It's your argument. That's the skill we do in history. So give this a go. Set up your argument now. Okay, so you've got your idea. So here's mine. I've said, because without a noble patron, a theatre company could not be legally set up. So very simple. Okay, now I can give some evidence about that. So there's a law here, isn't there, about setting up a theatre company. So it should be fairly straightforward. You might have a different idea. Try and find yourself a really good fact to back up your idea. Okay, so pause me and away you go with your example. So I've said, for example, the Globe Theatre had a company of players led by Lord Chamberlain's men. Before this, the company of players were the Leicester's men. Okay, so I haven't, I'm going to go alongside the players bit, and I'm going to try and explain the law bit in a minute. Okay, so I can bring out the explanation. Okay, so now I'm going to be saying, therefore, theatres became a success because of nobles and explain my answer. So pause and you give yourself your explanation now. Go for it. Okay, here's mine. So I've said, therefore, theatres became a success due to the nobles, as from 1572 all companies had to have a baron of the realm as a patron. This meant that the nobles created the success of the companies as they created companies like the Admiral's men based in the roads and the Leicester's men who were popular in the 1570s and 80s at the theatre. And then I'm going to go on to furthermore. So I'm going to explain. So I've explained how the law and the nobles led to the success of the Globe. Now you might have your example and explanation the other way around. That's perfectly fine. It'll probably work either way. You could give a Globe example first and then explain your knowledge, or you can give your sort of general knowledge first and then explain the impact on the Globe. I think either way would work for that particular response. Okay, so let's do a furthermore. So furthermore, support of nobles led to the success of theatres as or because. So pause me. Can you think of a furthermore from your list of ideas? So away you go. Okay, here's my idea then. So I've said, furthermore, the support of nobles led to the success of theatres as they hoped using plays would impress the Queen and gain prestige and favour from the Queen. This meant that they invested money into theatres and companies of players in the hope of gaining rewards from the Queen. This led to the success of theatres as more theatres were built and even better plays written and performed. For instance, Globe had the best playwright and actor due to the funding of Lord Chamberlain, with having Shakespeare and Burbage, of course. Okay, so there's the paragraph set out. Interesting second idea that, that idea of prestige from the Queen, trying to gain favour, trying to gain rewards. Maybe they'll gain some monopolies. Maybe they'll gain some good jobs by impressing her with a theatre company, because the Queen loved the theatre. So, on to a second argument now. So I'm not going to walk you through it step by step. Give it a go yourself. Look at the plan. Pick an example. It could be an example from the globe and then explain with your wider knowledge, or you could do it the other way around. It's up to you. I'm going to give globe example, explain with wider knowledge in my particular way I do it. So pause me and have a go at making money as the idea. Okay, got your idea? So here's mine. So I said secondly, statement is not totally convincing, as the desire to entertain and make money was an important reason why theatres were a success, because investors built more theatres as they became profitable. So obviously I'm doing a very positive argument about money and entertainment. I'm saying that the statement's not wonderfully correct when I'm thinking about this. Okay, so for example, Burbage has made £1,000 at the theatre, which is a huge amount in that time, isn't it? And the Lord Chamberlain's men hoped to all make a fortune when they invested in the Globe Theatre. Therefore, theatres became a success due to the desire to make money, because the Lord Chamberlain's men made great plays and entertained to make their fortune. For instance, they all made around £70 a year from their Globe investment, as well as animal fees as actors or writers. So furthermore, desire to entertain and make money led to theatres growing and expanding in London. The Curtain, the Rose, the Theatre and the Globe were all popular theatres and were able to attract over 20,000 people to plays every week. This popularity meant companies could make large profits and shows the success of theatres. Okay, so a good, nice explanation. I think a little step forward, you might have done this, could have been to compare it at the end to the idea of nobles. So this is less, however, this is less important than nobles, or this is more important than nobles, might have been a really nice ending to that paragraph. So let's look at finally then, this final paragraph, the liberties one. Okay, so I'm going to argue it's not totally convinced, the statement's not totally convincing, as the liberties was an important reason as well, because, okay, so again, I'm thinking about just sort of picking at the statement. Okay, however, I do have obviously a planned however here, so maybe I might go for a negative at the end and say it's less important than the nobles and have that comparison skill in this paragraph. So have a go at this yourself now. Pause me, give it a go, see what we can come up with. See if you can do the however at the end as well, and sort of give a comparison to the idea of the nobles. Okay, so here's my paragraph. So it says, finally, the statement is not totally convincing, as the development of liberties was also an important reason why theatres were a success, because without the free land, a theatre could not be built, as obviously the Puritans attempted to ban theatres within the city walls of London. For example, the Puritan city of London banned the building of these theatres within the London city walls, and also banned inns and alehouses from performing plays. Okay, therefore, liberties helped the success of theatres. They developed because Burbage was able to build the theatre on the liberty of Giles Allen on a 21-year lease. However, when the lease ended, Burbage rebuilt the theatre as the Globe in the liberty of Southwark on the south of the Thames. Therefore, liberties were important, as they allowed theatres to be built very close to London and meant they could be a success. You couldn't have it too far away, could you? Otherwise, nobody would go. However, the support of nobles was most important, and without the support, a theatre could not have been built anywhere at all, and no plays could have been performed. For instance, the government closed down the Blackfriars Playhouse due to excessive noise. This meant theatres were always vulnerable to the actions of nobles in the government. So you needed a good noble to support you, of course. Okay, so then finally, have a go at a conclusion. Now, we've got a little bit of comparison in some of our answers, and we've definitely got some evaluation. We've said furthermores, and we've said howevers. We need to just make sure we've made it clear, because we've said, no, both of those arguments we've said take away from the importance of nobles. We've said the statement's not totally correct because. So therefore, how much is it nobles? We've got to answer that question of how far does Globe Theatre support this statement? Okay, so is it a mostly? Does it partly support the statement? Give your judgment now with some reasons why. Okay, then explain your judgment. Maybe you can compare the different factors to come up with your judgment. So the Globe Theatre mostly shows nobles. It only partly shows liberties because there were, potentially lots of other liberties. Maybe it also important, but maybe not as important, is making money. Those sort of ideas. Be useful to compare making money with the nobles. Were the nobles in it for money or prestige? What were they in it for? Well, I hope you found that useful. So now in this revision guide, we've been through a cause and a consequence question. And I've listed some more questions at the back of the revision guide. So have a go at some other questions and have a good practice. Obviously, it's going to be an exam. It's going to be 16 marks on this question. So make sure you're very well prepared. Okay, bye bye for now.